So your race readiness scorecard came back, and I think you're a powerhouse. Most powerhouses think that cardio kills their gains, but it's in fact the opposite. Cardio underpins everything and is the foundation for your work capacity. Now, the powerhouse is one of the 4 profiles that I see most often in my coaching service. And every single thing I'm about to walk you through is specific to your result. It's not a generic tips video, so if you keep watching, by the end, you'll know exactly how to tackle your lack of work capacity and engine head on, and the specific program changes that fix it without undoing all of the hard work that you've already put in. So if you're a powerhouse, you can probably move a good amount of weight, but doing a hard 5K scares the pants off you. You'd much rather bang out a strength session instead of doing some cardio, which means that you've got an amazing base of strength and tissue tolerance, but you don't have an engine that underpins it all. And this is really common, and it's not a discipline problem at all. It's a training split problem, which we'll address in a minute. And this is because of the way that you structure your strength work. So one of the things we're going to look at today is how to rejig your training structure so you can actually make time for cardio and do it with a modality that makes you motivated to train for it. But before we get onto that, let's quickly talk about mistakes. The instinct of avoiding running to protect your gains is something that's baked into the fitness industry, but that's not really what the science says. And my own personal experience can attest to that. I went on a peak bulk. I wasn't doing any cardio, my blood pressure was super high. I'd get absolutely smoked from doing like 4 sets of squats and deadlifts. And I just had no resiliency and robustness in terms of my work capacity, which meant that all of my heavy workouts felt hard. And as soon as I tried to do any form of volume, I would just be on the floor. But remember that while cardio and strength adaptations are at different ends of the spectrum, that doesn't mean that they can't complement each other really, really well. And for those of you who have no idea who I am, my name is Oscar. I'm a running and high rocks coach, and I help self-improving people like you pick, prep, and PB your next race in 16 weeks with stripped-backed, bespoke coaching that simplifies the fitness experience. So I would say that the main priorities that the powerhouse needs to focus on are threefold. So first, we want to build our aerobic base, and then we want to think about how can we add volume and not intensity. And the reason this is important is because when you're trying to accumulate a lot of base miles, you need to be doing the thing a lot. And the harder you do the thing, the harder it is to recover from. And when you're trying to mix the components of strength training and running / cardio, that can take a real toll on the body. Finally, following on from this point, we want to make sure that we're using cross training. God, these pens are so bad. Now, what do I mean by cross-training? Essentially, I mean any form of training that allows you to do some off-feet conditioning. So that might be ski erg, assault bike, concept 2 bike. It could be going out for actual cycle rides. It could be the elliptical, anything that's going to allow you to get your heart rate up to work on your cardiorespiratory fitness without putting excess strain on your calves, hips, shins, knees, every single step that you take. And it's a really useful tool, one that I use actually a lot in my own training, especially when I have a little niggle. How are you going to build this into your program? Let's say you've got your training week here. You might be doing upper, lower, rest, upper, lower, rest, rest, you know, and you're doing bench here, you're doing a weighted chin up, you know, then you're doing curls, stuff like that. And then on your lower day, you've got like a quad dominant day, so you're gonna be doing like high bar back squat here. And then maybe on your other lower day, you know, you're gonna start with your conventional deadlift. On your secondary upper, you might be doing spotto press or something, you know, secondary bench variation, that type of thing. This is great for powerlifting focused stuff, but if you want to start building actual aerobic fitness that underpins kind of all of your strength and gives you a little bit more work capacity, then what you need to do is you need to change your training split. There aren't enough days in the week that you can fit, you know, extra cardio in unless you want to be living at the gym every single day, which most people don't. So here's what you're going to do instead. Oh, this pen actually looks good. You're going to condense some of your strength days into 2 or 3 days maximum. I would say 2. It could be a full body, an upper, and a full body / lower. Or what I'd recommend is 2 full body sessions, you know, with a good amount of space in between them. That would be kind of like my recommendation. And that's slightly different to what I put in the PDF. So what you're gonna do then is you're gonna put your 3 cardio sessions in during the week. So we've got one here, we're gonna do 2 days, 1 day rest, and then you're gonna put another one here, and then you're gonna rest, and then you're gonna put one more here, maybe it's optional. And your full body program is gonna be really simple. It's basically gonna consist of push, pull, squat, hinge, core, calf. A few accessories can be done, but ideally, because you're adding lots of volume on top of your current setup, you know, you're gonna need to trim some stuff. Because if you've ever done an SBD day, like, you know how long that type of workout could take. I would recommend for the first couple of weeks, only doing 2 to 3 sets per exercise. And the reason that you're gonna do that, maybe you're gonna go, say, 4 to 6 reps to keep the strength stimulus high, is because you're already putting lots more load on your joints across the week, depending on the type of cardio modality that you choose. And in order to do that and not get injured after, like, you know, week 8, when all of that stress starts to accumulate, you need to control your volume. Your volume and intensity are the 2 biggest levers that you're gonna be pulling. So that's why it's so important, I think, to structure it this way. And trust me, you will 100% maintain your strength on this. You might not build a lot of strength, but at least you've got your kind of 2 times per week frequency. So you're practicing the skill a lot. You know, you've got primary and secondary days, so you could make this more of like a posterior chain day. You can make this more of an anterior chain day. And then for your cardio, you're gonna start maybe at like 20 to 30 minutes. And it's got to be zone 2. Zone 2 is massively overhyped in the running community, and it's a form of what we call polarized training. And the reason that pros do polarized training is because it allows them to get in a ton of quality work, practice their skills, say for instance running, and still pepper in hard intensity days. So for most people, the benefit or the learning of zone 2 that we should take, maybe even zone 1, is the lower the intensity of the thing you do, the more easily you're gonna be able to recover from it. Therefore, the more of it you're gonna be able to do. So if we start doing a thing 3 times a week, but it's painfully easy, your ego's taking a real hit here, we're gonna start really quickly getting much better at that thing. And the rule is, you know, each week, I want you to add 5 minutes to your runs until at week 8, you know, you might be running for 45 minutes. Maybe you wanna do a run here, and you wanna do a bike here, and you wanna do a ski here. But what we've now done is we've set up a schedule that allows you to maintain your strength, but also start to build the qualities needed for an aerobic base and improved work capacity. And you're not ignoring your glaring weaknesses anymore. And this is so important because for people who aren't used to doing a lot of cardio, if you want to start running a 5K, you need to have a sensible ramp. And the main reason that is this one word here. If you start ripping max effort 5Ks every week, you probably are gonna get injured. Now, the good thing is that if you've actually not been neglecting like your calf work, for instance, you're probably not gonna get like a tissue tolerance related injury that quickly. But still, 3 times a week is a huge increase in frequency. The more the intensity is high, the more it's gonna be difficult to recover from, the more likely you are to get injured. Now, what are some other tips for injury prevention that I love? One of them is range of motion. So bad at ripping this paper. Injury prevention. This, guys, is huge. If I want to squat deep like Clarence Kennedy, but every time I do, it absolutely destroys my hip, I'm gonna start box squatting because it's gonna allow me to get a lot of the stimulus, the central nervous system adaptations of feeling that heavy weight on my back, having a lot of high motor unit recruitment without really irritating my hip. If I start doing preacher curls 4 times a week, my elbows are really gonna start to feel sore. And if you haven't been doing calf work for a while and then you start running and doing deep stretch calf work because Jeff Nippard's told you to, yeah, fine, that's great for muscle growth, but like your Achilles tendons are gonna be absolutely screaming, which leads me onto my second really important pro tip. If you can't do a concentric movement without something flaring up, an isometric hold is so good. For example, I'm deep in a running block. At the end of last year, I tried to run a sub 17-minute 5K. Didn't quite get there. My PB is 17:57. However, my calves are really beat up from the hard speed sessions that I did. So I know that tissue tolerance, soleus, tendon stiffness is super important for running and force absorption. And I didn't just want to not train calves, but I also don't want to do lengthened partials because I know that's going to make me incredibly sore. So I did basically pin push isos. I just whack a really heavy weight on there. I go up with 2 legs and then get one leg away and just literally try and get my heel as close to my knee as I can. I'm doing a 20-second iso for 2 to 3 sets, maybe 2-minute rest. And that's brilliant because that's gonna help me maintain. Guys, one thing I wanna impress upon you is if you've already spent ages building something that you're good at, it looks like a face, that's supposed to be a dumbbell, and that's an aerobic system here, then maybe you're just gonna focus on keeping this the same while you spend a little bit more time trying to grow this one. You can't do everything at once, and sometimes you need to make sure that you're ignoring your ego for the sake of long-term progression. That progression over time is so important because if you do this, but then you crash and burn, and then you rest for, 8 weeks because you're out with an injury, you've missed out on a ton of progress. So those are the things that I really want the Powerhouse to take away from this YouTube video. I would say that my client Becky came in as your typical Powerhouse in the sense that she had less of a running background, less aerobic base. And 4 months later, she did a 139 in her first Hyrox doubles, absolutely smashing it by working exactly as I'd laid out in this video. And she's just signed up again to do her very own solo race. And this is exactly what we map out in your hybrid strategy call. We look at your results from your scorecard, we determine your weaknesses, what an appropriate plan for the next 16 weeks might be, so we can get you on the road to picking, prepping, and PBing your next race as soon as possible. So if that sounds like you, use a link in the description or one of the buttons on the PDF to book a free hybrid strategy call with me, and we can talk everything over, because I'm sure you'll have questions after watching this video. And remember, everything you've heard now is specific to your scorecard. I'm so keen to show people how racing can reignite their love for health and fitness that I want to bring it to you too. So if you've got any questions at all, or you want to jump on that free call, then you know what to do. Just hit one of the links below or follow my stuff and for more Hyrox and running tips.